Hey, we're back with another segment of MITech News TV. With us today is the interim dean of the College of Engineering at Lawrence Technological University. He just joined the university in July last month. His name is Maj Dean Mirmirani, and he's an interesting fellow, an accomplished engineer, researcher, and educator. And he's going to be with Lawrence Tech for the next year while a global search is underway for a new Dean of Engineering at Lawrence Tech. So, Dean Mirmirani, welcome to the show.
Greetings. Thanks very much, Matt. I appreciate that kind introduction.
Okay, so let's begin with a little bit about your background, sort of where you were born and grew up, and your educational pathway, and also what your career pathway has been to this point.
Sure. I was born in Tehran, Iran, and I was raised there. I went to high school there. The high school is notable and worth mentioning because was was considered to be the best in the country, and it was established by an American fellow with the name of Dr. Jordan. In fact, his statue was mounted at the entrance of the college, and it was run by one of the most highly regarded educators and servant in Iran. And I was fortunate to be admitted there. It was a very rigorous high school. And one of the interesting features was that one had to select, once you get to senior high level, select whether you are going to be in math track or biology track or literature track. And I chose to be in a math track. And subsequently, after graduating from high school, I attended a technical school. It was called Tehran Polytechnic. And in fact, the campus was adjacent to the high school that I went to. So I did my 4-year undergraduate there in mechanical engineering. I was very adamant that I would be in mechanical engineering. You had to actually select a discipline and put a second choice, and I just didn't bother to put a second choice, and I took my chances. That's where I met my wife, who was also studying chemical engineering, and we married right after graduation, and a year later, we traveled to the U.S. to study. That's what I always had planned. And we both went to graduate school at Berkeley, University of California, Berkeley. I studied mechanical engineering, and she went to material science and engineering. And 6 years later, we had our PhDs, and she had her master's. We decided to go back to Iran, 1977, and we took a job. I started working for a management consulting firm because one of my closest friends worked there. So that's not something that I envisioned to be doing after a PhD in mechanical engineering, but I don't regret that decision because that gave me a kind of a breadth and field of view that otherwise would not have been possible. After the revolution, actually, I was invited to take a postdoc position at Brown University, and we decided to take a year off. And we ended up in the U.S., and then things went a little bit in different directions that we thought, and we decided that we wanted to stay here. In the interim, I spent a year at the Imperial College on our way to the U.S. in UK, and then I took a job at the California State University, Los Angeles, because we wanted to be in California. And I was there. I went through the ranks. and served as department chair for 12 years. I was a research lab director. I established a laboratory, multidisciplinary flight dynamics and control lab that was funded by Office of Scientific Research, Air Force Office of Scientific Research, and NSF and NASA. And then I kind of veered off towards an aerospace engineer from mechanical
Yeah,
engineering.
I was gonna
User
ask you about that.
research.
I was I was going to ask you about that because your background's in mechanical engineering, but a lot of the most interesting work that you've done is aeronautical. It's been in flight and aerospace.
That is correct. In fact, I and a colleague of mine, we ended up having a major NASA grant, and that's how it started. And that grant was close to $6 million in the 1990s dollars to build a segmented a test bed for something like the JW Webb that is now deployed in space. In fact, Northrop Grumman was one of our industry partners, and that was a full-fledged test bed with the requirements of a space-based telescope, and I'm very proud of that project. Subsequent to that, hypersonic flight vehicles and UAVs powered by fuel cell. And then I was also a pilot, so my background kind of worked out very well for applying for the position of the dean at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in
Yeah,
2000.
I was going to say that was your next step after Cal State Los Angeles. Was you wound up at Embry-Riddle in Florida, which is a specialized aeronautical engineering school, right? And that's where you met the LTU provost, Richard Heist, and kind of the rest is history, right?
That is right. In fact, we both were hired pretty much at the same time. Richard started in July, and I started in October 2007. And we both worked under a very visionary president, John Johnson. And, we were fortunate to be at the point in time in the life of that institution that was transformational, pretty much what is happening here in LTU.
All right. So, what was it that attracted you to moving to Lawrence Tech? You had been an interim dean before at Ohio University, but what was it about the opportunity at LTU that attracted you?
It was Richard Heist. He called me up and said, "Hey, Maj, we need an interim dean," and I did not know much about LTU, but I did my homework. And the prospect of working with Richard, Dr. Heist again, and also LTU being such a highly technological university really was attractive. And I certainly am happy about my decision.
So, looking at LTU after a couple of months here, what has got you most excited about the opportunity being here?
I think I am very impressed by the talent, faculty. I haven't had much of a chance dealing with the students because the students weren't here, but I have got to know few faculty members. I'm quite impressed with what these people have done, and I'm pretty sure you can put any of them at the highest level of academia, and these people would be able to perform and succeed.
Hmm. Well, one of the goals of LTU's current president, Tarek Soap, is to move the university from its legacy as a teaching institution into more of a research institution. And that means attracting faculty that want to do research. It means beefing up graduate programs, master's and PhD programs. So talk a little bit about what your plans are in doing that at the College of Engineering, if you would.
Yeah, I think, as you mentioned, I'm going to be here a short time, so I'm very realistic about what one can do in a short time, less than a year probably. But I have also been in similar environment, so that gives me a little bit of a global view of what it takes. I have found out that a lot of the way is based on one's perception and attitude and the climate of the college and cultural change that is required. I think I know how to do that. I'm very excited about being able to do that. So I'm very focused on working in raising the academic reputation of the college. That's really the currency of the business when an institution decides to be research focused and transition from primarily teaching institution to we never want to take our eyes off of who we really are. We are in the business of education, so teaching is extremely important. And I'm going to emphasize that to our faculty that research should not come at the cost of teaching. That is something that I make sure does not happen. But I'm going to be focused on teaching excellence and also transition to research.
Yeah, and in fact, while you were at Embry-Riddle, it did make that transformation, right? From a master's degree institution to a comprehensive R2 research institution, correct?
That is correct, right? When I started, the College of Engineering had only one master's degree. And right now there are 8 master degrees and 3 PhD programs when I left.
Okay. One last thing on a personal note, I wanted to ask you about your interest in being a private pilot. Now, you did tell me you haven't flown. It's been a while since you were active in flying, but do you plan on getting back into that?
Absolutely, I am. I do remember I had a friend who studied at University of Michigan and started and took pilot lessons here way back then. So I'm very eager to go out there and find an FBO and where I can start flying again.
Okay. Well, thanks very much, folks. It's the Lawrence Technological University College of Engineering, and this gentleman here is the interim dean for the 24-25 academic year, Maj Dean Mirmirani, and as I said, an accomplished researcher, educator, engineer, and pilot, by the way. So thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.